Hi, my name is Kelp. I have a disability that affects a lot of what I do. I have been mostly bedridden for a decade and counting. My disability affects my nervous system and so affects everything I do. To narrow it down, I'm just going to talk about how it affects me in Minecraft. I'll try to keep things brief, but there's a lot to explain. To start with, I actually have two disabilities, one I was born with and the other because I became chronically ill in early adulthood. My disabilities are dynamic. When discussing disability, most of the time static disability is what people think of first. For example, if someone cannot walk, they are expected to not walk. With dynamic disability, however, maybe one day I cannot walk but the next day I can. Sometimes disability can be both static and dynamic. That is the case for me. I am always sick, but some days I can walk and some days I can't. I do not look sick and technically I can do anything I did in health, but it comes with a terrible price, which is why I have mostly been bedridden for many years now. I am always in pain. There's never a moment I'm not in pain. Every action, from thinking, to seeing, to hearing, to remembering, to moving, to speaking, all of it comes with a cost. Over the years I have been able to discover my window of function. This window is how much I can do in an allotted time without paying a severe price to my health. This window is attached to my baseline. My baseline isn't great, but could be worse, and so it's very important for me to adhere to this window time, or else things will get worse for me. There are two time frames I must consider when playing Minecraft. First are the days. I can play Minecraft in two ways safely, either every other day, so play one day, rest the next, or I can play 2 days in a row then rest. Any other play schedule and am starting to risk my health. The second time frame is the time of day and for how long. I can play for 2 hours safely, I can push to 4 with minimal risk, but past 4 hours is costing my health. The hours I can play between are from 10 a.m. through 5 p.m. safely, 6 p.m. through 11 p.m. with harm. To imagine my illness, picture a snake curled around you that slowly over time constricts you more and more. If you move outside the time frame, it starts to bite and consume you. That is how a kelp needs help do. That is the general feeling I'm experiencing with any action I take. Moving on to another issue I face is vision. Oftentimes there is not time to accurately explain exactly what is happening to me in a way people understand, so I say things that may not be wholly true but gets the point across. The phrase I use most often is, I cannot see. I can see, but oftentimes I cannot comprehend what I'm seeing. When AI images started out and they were making pictures of things but nothing was identifiable and endlessly confusing, that is what things look like for me. I can comprehend about a third of my screen. Because of this, I'm typically focused on the bottom third of my screen where my toolbar is. I am also light sensitive, so my brights are brighter and my darks are darker. Most of the time things are so dark in Minecraft I genuinely can't see anything. There are also times I'm forced to close my eyes because of flickering items like doors or lights. I am at risk of seizure with things that flicker. And while I'd love to make content that is safe for people that might suffer from similar issues, due to the nature of Minecraft I can't do that. There's a lot of times the screen flickers while playing. There are items that flicker. While I may close my eyes and am relatively safe, it could be a risk for others, so I can't recommend this content safely. Watching will have to be of one's own discretion. Memory is another thing I struggle with. While my long-term memory is okay, my short-term memory can go in and out. It is difficult for me to learn new things. I get lost a lot. Sometimes I can forget who I am, and where I am, and what I'm doing. Something I find kind of funny is that this can be triggered by changing scenery, so me dying in game, open my inventory, or simply walking through a door can cause me to forget a lot of things. Most times it returns to me after a few seconds, but other times it can be a few minutes before my memory returns to me. I often charge forward not knowing anything, only blind faith that things will come back to me. Moving on to the most obvious issue, which is speech. I cannot speak, in a similar way to me saying I cannot see. I can speak, but it is painful. Speaking demands so much from my health as an action that it is not something I can do while gaming. I can either game, or I can speak, but I can't do both at the same time, on the same day, without significant harm. I typically reserve speech for close family and friends about once a week. Whenever I speak it feels like I'm lighting my spine on fire, and the whole area begins to sweat. My original disability has to do with my ability to comprehend language, and since illness I can no longer compensate and mask how slow I am. While it might not sound like a lot, I am a few seconds behind the average individual when it comes to speaking. This adds up and has caused a lot of confusion and frustration, but I have found that if you're clear about that up front, people are much more understanding and patient. All of these things are some of my main issues while playing Minecraft. An important message I'd like to add, to leave off with, is that while it is helpful to have others understand what I am experiencing, I can and will take care of myself. I am the one that pays the price for not staying within the bounds of my illness, so I listen to my needs. I will sometimes choose to harm myself because it is worth the pain, and I need understanding that that is okay for me to make that choice. I find a lot of people are willing to help me, which is incredibly kind. Oftentimes folks are unsure how to do so. I have found that being able to be patient with me, and to not immediately assume the worst when I am not performing as an average person would, is the most helpful. What is most helpful for me in game is to have someone to shadow. Something my illness has had me appreciate is the genius of nature, the same instinct that helps a baby duck move and grow throughout the world, by following a parent duck, is the same thing that helps me move around Minecraft. Of course, this isn't a responsibility I'd like to impose on anyone, but if a person is willing to let me shadow them, it really helps me navigate my surroundings. Because my disability emulates a lot of what it's like to be a child, I am often perceived either younger than I am, or that I am in need of protection. This moves into what is not helpful towards me. People can be mean, or rude, or ignorant of me. All of that is fine. I do not expect everyone to know, and even if they do know, to care about me. I know which people are kind to me, and will gravitate towards them. While coming from a good place, I have never, and will never ask for defense against people that may be rude to me. You never know what someone's story is. If someone has cruel intent, I ignore them, and if I truly need to, I can always log off. It is not helpful to me to have people scold others on my behalf. Gently informing is fine. In general, I'd prefer to speak for myself unless I specifically request otherwise. Not everyone is understanding and caring towards those that are disabled, and that's okay, because there are those that are, and those that come to learn, and want to be caring, and I appreciate wherever folks are in that journey of understanding. The world isn't perfect, but you can find happy pockets and places. Thanks for watching this through. I hope it provides some insight to my Minecraft playing. Looking forward to the journey, shenanigans, and friends I make along the way because of my disability. Take care. Wow, that sounds like a threat with TTS.